The Zoning and Planning Committee heard from residents and business owners about the amendments to make on-street dining permanent. On-street dining permits end on April 1st.
So the item that we're beginning with is item 32-23. It's Her Honor the Mayor requesting amendments to sections 5.1.4, 6.4.29, and 7.8.2 in order to make outdoor dining permanent in the city of Newton. And John Sisson, our Economic Development Director, is going to present the essence of this proposal. And then we will open the public hearing following, assuming there's no questions from the council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jacqueline is gonna, we put together a few slides. I think everybody around the table has a pretty deep understanding of where this is in the process, but we wanted to just review for those of us joining us that last month, the Public Safety and Transportation Committee did update the Newton Ordinance Section 12-70, which basically enabled outdoor dining areas and codified the city's authority to have these, which we're going to need because of the expiration of the state's emergency authorization, and really just making this program permanent. So that was what was accomplished last week. And next slide shows that I believe Andrew Lee from the law department, who's with us tonight, identified a few areas of the zoning ordinance, which are, there's cross-referencing between the city ordinance and the zoning ordinance on this topic. So he identified 3 areas where we needed to make some clarifications and update the language to make sure that everything jived. And really, I think the whole purpose of updating these 3 elements of the zoning ordinance is just to clarify that we're going to treat the outdoor dining in a public parking space the same way that we have always treated cafe seating on the sidewalk. So we can just jump into those 3 areas are 5.14, 6.4.29, and 7.8.2. So the first of these, you can see that Andrew's updates here in blue, just adding to the sidewalk cafe space and parking space. And so this is pretty much the uniform change that's done throughout. So Jacqueline, if you show the next section of the zoning, again, now I'm only showing the sections that have changed. Nothing changes except for what's shown on the screen. So part B, section 3, and part C, section 7. Those are just the minor areas with the ellipses in between. And then the last section of the next section, the non-conforming. So special permit not required. And again, there's just one section C that addresses section 12-70. And so that's pretty much the meat of what we're talking about tonight, is needing to update the zoning, have a public hearing because this is zoning. And then, and I guess just in terms of, I wanted just to reiterate something I said the other night in our meeting, was that we are continuing to look at this because this is it's an evolving sort of practice, and we really only have a few years of practice doing it, as do all the other municipalities around Greater Boston. So I think we're continuing to, no one's developed best practices. There's a lot of questions, I think, policy-wise, that will need to be hammered out in the next couple of years. So we're going to continue talking to other communities and then report back to the city council later this year and help provide you with at least an understanding of what are people doing and what seems to be working.
Thank you. And did you say that the reason we're taking this up, this just sliver of an amendment up ahead of all that, is because we want to make sure we're timely with respect to the state's waiver expiring at the end of March, which means we want our restaurants to have some time to establish outdoor dining.
That's absolutely right. There is both the state expiration and the beginning of our dining season are the same day, April 1st. I'm not joking, April 1st, but it's and the but I think also I lost my train of thought there, that we want to make sure that people, as you said, have time, because it's not just getting the ordinance in place and going through the appeal period and all that. there is the application process itself with the city, but then there's all the logistics that the restaurants need to do in terms of working with contractors, working with Public Works, and planning out their budgets. So we want to provide them with as much time as possible, and it's a pretty tight window.
Dave Punch. Please go ahead, Mr. Punch. You need to unmute and please state your name and address for the record.
Dave Punch. I live in 293 High Plains Street in Walpole, Mass, but I have 3 businesses in Newton Center. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I have Sycamore Restaurant at 755 Beacon Street. And then I have Little Big Diner at 1247 Center and Ginny's Pizzeria at 1231 Center. And I just wanted to go on record as saying that the outdoor space is very helpful to business now. And it really does add to the guest experience, and it's kind of slowly become kind of baked into the cake, if you will, of the restaurant. I feel like at this point, I think the guests really like it. The community really likes it. I've gotten an overwhelming support for it. And, you know, having the Jersey barriers provided has been incredibly helpful. I know I was kind of personally dragging my feet, getting my stuff off there. I think Mr. Sisson can attest to that. But, you know, I got it done. But at the end of the day, it has been very, very helpful. And if need be, we can certainly provide our own barriers. They are for sale on Uline, the water barriers. I personally think that the concrete Jersey barriers look better, if I do say so myself. Those big kind of thick, clunky water barriers aren't my favorite. We do store them ourselves, and we did run into an issue towards the end of the season where the water inside of them necessary to keep them stable did freeze. And that's about 2,000 pounds of water in there. So we needed to wait, and we were really lucky that we caught a warm spell there towards the end of December, and some of that water melted, or else we wouldn't have been able to move them without help from, I don't know who. But, you know, the Jersey barriers have been great. And, you know, I thought that it was really nice year one in the pandemic. I think it was late 2020, early 2021. I can't remember when, but some of the community members kind of went around and volunteered, and they were able to paint them. I thought that was kind of a fun thing. And that's kind of all I got to say about that. But thanks so much for the support. I personally want to go on record as saying as well that I had restaurants in Cambridge beforehand. Newton's lovely to work with, and you guys have all been really helpful to us. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys kind of expediting the process for us through the last few years, especially when it was really helpful in 2020 and 2021. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Punch. And
Of course.
we're complimenting our staff as well. Mr. John D., could you unmute and state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, thank you. John Driscoll, and I'm the owner of Buttonwood Restaurant at 51 Lincoln Street. And I just want to reiterate much of what Dave said. I don't want to be redundant. The one thing I do want to add is that we actually had started at the process of amending our license for permanent outside dining. And we are looking at, you know, because we're making that investment, and if this were to pass, of upgrading, you know, the furniture outside. In last year, we did spend some money, you know, bringing in flowered pots and things like that to make the barrier look better. So I think we as a business owner, we do want to have the outside looking as best we can. I'm not sure who said it earlier, but when it was not sure if this was permanent, you know, I think making that investment in buying all new furniture is something we would have been cautious about. So if that's done, I think there's a lot of restaurant owners, I can't speak for everyone, obviously, that will feel better about being able to then spend to invest to make the whole area look as good as it can. And it has been vital and helpful to the business. And it's always outside dining for us is always the first reservations that go. So the customers and the residents in the Highlands there, they really love it. And so we appreciate the support too from you folks and helping us hopefully keep this and make it available to the public. I think it's good for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any more hands up. Oh, and now I do. I was expecting to see your hand. Mr. Reedman, would you like to go ahead?
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. Just really briefly, thank you to the administration, the city staff, everyone for moving this quickly and for your quick consideration on this. This is so vital to the economic vitality of our restaurants and our villages and well supported by the public. I'll just call your attention to the petition that we circulated late last year that has over 16,000 people who signed it in support of making dining permanent. I can send you another copy to that if you don't have it, but you should have that petition. And again, thank you. We urge your support on this so we can move this forward and our restaurants can plan for the spring dining season.
Thank you very much. Okay, so hold on. I just want to make sure anybody else who wants to speak, if you, I'm assuming folks know how to raise their hands, but there's a little gizmo at the bottom of the screen, reactions, you press that. Anybody else who wants to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? So moved by Councillor Danberg. And is there? And you're moving to approve? I'll hold that motion. Anybody want to say anything?
I'm just gonna see if the planning board wants to close their public hearing.
Thank you. Would the planning board like to close its public hearing? Okay, public hearing is closed. Are there comments from anyone in the room? No. On the screen? Anyone?
Just happy we're doing it. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, lots of heads nodding and smiling faces. Awesome. We have a motion to
I
approve
will move to approve.
from Councillor Danberg. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. Terrific. Planning board, please go ahead.
Well, I guess I'll ask the members, are we prepared to approve tonight? Doesn't seem like very controversial, so.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So is there a motion?
Accept the amendments in docket item 3223 to amend sections 5.14, 6.4, 0.29, and 7.8.2.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any discussion? We all set? So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're good. We're unanimous. Thank you.
Pete, Kelly?
Yeah.
This one.
You're abstaining. Okay, very good.